Hello, my name is Caleb Smith with the Rocket Miner newspaper, here to provide your news update for May 23rd, 2020, Saturday. Starting with coronavirus figures, according to the numbers provided by the Wyoming Department of Health this afternoon. Right now we're sitting at 615 lab-confirmed cases of the coronavirus in the Cowboy State, and that number includes 17 confirmed cases in Sweetwater County. When it comes to probable cases, the overall total for Wyoming is 198, and that includes 8 cases in Sweetwater County. So for those of you, double checking if your math, if you're doing it at home, 17 plus 8 is 25 total, probable and confirmed cases. When it comes to recoveries, right now, statewide, we have 556. 556 out of over 615 is not quite 50 active cases statewide. We're cheering these people on so that they are quickly added to the recovery column, and we get that figure as low as we can. When it comes to recoveries in Sweetwater County, that sits at 23. So 23 out of 25 cases total. It's a very high percentage. Shifting to a national perspective, Centers for Disease Control and Prevention are reporting 1,595,885 total cases in the United States, which is an increase of 24,268 new cases compared to yesterday. Total deaths now sits at 96,002 people, which is 1,852 new deaths compared to yesterday. Globally, Johns Hopkins University is reporting that the totals now sits at 5,309,142, which with global deaths at 342,061 people. Looking at global recoveries, that's at 2,112,017 cases. Now, it's been a slow weekend, which some of us are ready for it. Some of you probably maybe had an extra active start to your Memorial Day weekend holiday. Maybe you're like me and you were taking in some of the virtual graduation ceremonies. I got to watch a little bit of Black Butte's ceremony last night when I was uploading the previous day's video. Farson-Eden's was today. One of the things that I find interesting and a benefit that wasn't always enjoyed in the past is when the ceremony wasn't necessarily live streamed or certainly wasn't promoted to the point that it is right now. I have relatives spread all over the place, and we're not able to get together as often as we'd like, even in more conducive conditions than right now. And I know some of them would have appreciated being able to watch it if they could make it there physically. There's also the advantage of being able to hit the pause button. I did marching band and performance band for 4 years in high school and college, not counting the middle school years. It's probably not surprising, you might guess about me. So I've attended a lot of graduation ceremonies, and it's rough when you have to get there early, and you know you're not leaving anytime soon once the event's over, just because it takes so long. And having had some family members that bathroom access is important. Just being able to stop and go ain't the worst thing in the world. Then there's also I appreciated how the people behind it kept looking for ways to add a little bit more flair, a little bit more creativity. It's hard to bring humanity to the surface, even through a visual genre like this. But you could tell they put their hearts into these screens. Not just Black Butte High School and Farson, but some of the other ones that we've had too. All this extra filming or picture submissions, and you know that people spent a little bit more time on their speeches this year, if only because they did have they had some spare time at home to do so. So kudos for all of you involved with that, whether it was in front of the camera, behind the camera, class of 2012, or its supporters. One final thing that I want to talk about is quarantine beards. This is a personal thing of mine. Of course, not everybody has hobo locks like mine. And I have been thankful for the fact that statewide and even earlier at the county level, they were rolling back some restrictions when it comes to distancing in businesses. Especially since whether it's, even if it's a tiny mask or a scarf, this thing, it's like having a small gerbil under your mask along with you, and it makes it that much more muggier and a little bit harder to breathe under the mask. And I've been looking forward to getting rid of this beard. One of the things that gives me pause is that, as opposed to some other facial care topics, whether it's your nails or maybe you have top of the head hair, there's much more close contact and proximity, it's still not quite the same way as somebody working with your beard. And this is just for me personally. I'm not. I don't wish this to be a judgment on other people, but just when it comes to me and the comfort level I have with where I've been out and about and my concerns about me potentially infecting other people unknowingly, I would hate to do that to anybody, let alone a hard-working barber, which is a profession that's long had my respect, especially since I know the difference between a good barber and a bad barber is light years apart, and you can tell. That said, I'm still not at the point where I'm comfortable with somebody being able to work on my beard and see what they're doing while I'm sitting there in the chair without a mask. Maybe some other people have cracked it. They're tactilely skilled enough that they can put the razor on a pole and get me baby smooth with just a couple smooth moves of their wrists. I don't have that level of confidence. Like I said, this is about me. I know there are those hair artisans out there. And one of the other things that has been bugging me is, and I'm not going to name names, but there were more than a few prominent politicians that even in places where there were lockdowns, and if you remember, barbers, hairstylists, and whatnot were often some of the first businesses being told to close for the safety of the community, they still kept up their hair regimen. Now, in some cases, there were some light stories about politicians turning to their kids or another family member to go after their hair. But there were some prominent ones that you could tell it was professionally done, and I never heard a satisfactory answer when media called them upon it. It's never a great thing for somebody to be saying, do what I say even if I don't do it. When it comes to advice that we share through these videos, I know I've been very cognizant of wanting to practice what I preach. Because if it's not good enough, if I'm giving you advice and I'm not following it, what does that say about me? What does that say about other people who are given that authority out there? Anyway, and this is just, like I said, this is the monkey on my back. You figure out how many bananas you got to feed yours. This is my metaphorical one. And another fun thing about the internet is that if I didn't see it happen, if I don't see proof, how can I take you for a fact? So with all these things in mind, being worried about getting in proximity with somebody and accidentally passing it on to them, especially to somebody I know who's going to be seeing other people, and especially such a personal profession. There are other ones I recognize that right now, eye doctors, well, they got a face shield up, that's probably fine. Supermarket clerks, we're not in each other's faces. We often have that plastic screen anyway. Dentist is also on my list of, I would love to hear your stories about how you're coping with that. But like I said, worried about that, wanting to, practicing what I preach, recognizing that there are those out there who do not hold themselves to that standard and thus undercut the message they're trying to get across. We are passing on these important stories, these lighthearted bits, and this advice because we do believe in it. And also the recognizing if it's like Pixar didn't happen. Well, since I have a video camera, I can do you one better. It's a lot harder to do this with a video screen as opposed to a mirror. I'm learning that right now. And for the record, I'm not going to inflict my entire shearing upon you all. It's just a matter of, there are a lot of people who say we're all in this together. And I aspire for that to be true. It's easy to say. It's harder to do. There are some people who say it who are saying it from a place of comfort, from a job that's confident, from a bank account or stock options that are feeling comfortable. It's hard to say that when you've been watching family members see their hours cut, when you've seen people lose their jobs, when you know that there are some businesses that were hurt before then. We've been living with the ups and downs of the boom and bust. As it's the energy dependent West and Southwest Wyoming, Sweetwater County in particular, we knew this was going to be a harder year even before the coronavirus started taking up a bigger part of our attentions. I've watched the Rocket Miner struggle to adjust with all these things too, in addition to many other great businesses. And we've even seen some smaller businesses in town announce that they didn't make it. This 2020 was their final year. Stuff like this, I hope it cheers you up, and I hope it shows that from the Rocket Miner standpoint, we really are trying to stand side by side with you all too. We're not doing this from a distance, or at least not an extended distance. We're still watching. We're covering meetings through videos. We're doing a lot more phone calls than usual. But even when we're not there physically, we want to be right there with you in the community. Whether it's writing the article or letting you know about the latest developments, writing editorials. I'd encourage you all to read Hannah Romero's column. Just because you're over it doesn't mean it's over. I think that headline captures a lot of our attitudes and outlook right now. We're not thrilled about it, but we got to be honest about what's still ahead of us. Or, like I said, the guy who's trying to do a one-take video because he knows he just can't put the hair back on later. Suppose I could. I have glue. I think that'd be a bigger mess. So, I've got a haircut to finish. But in the meantime, I want to wish you an enjoyable Memorial Day weekend, a good day, and a safe tomorrow.